I was like 10. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I want to be like a unicorn.
That's fair.
I mean, kind of. I was like that kid who always like went to the library every week with my dad, because he loves movies, right? So he would borrow some DVDs, I'd borrow some books. And so at that age, 10 to 12, I was like, I want to be a writer. Being a writer is really cool.
Yeah.
But then, kind of grew up during like formation of the internet. I was like stealing Wi-Fi from my neighbors, right? Because networks were unprotected. And over the course of like going through middle school, going through high school, going through college, I learned more and more about kind of digital media as a field, not just writing. And so I was like, oh, okay. And I actually originally wanted to work in movies. I would watch a movie like every 2 or 3 days when I was in high school and
Awesome.
college. And so a lot of my narrative storytelling background comes from having read a lot of books, having watched a lot of films. And then I approached games later, actually pretty well into my 20s, like approaching games as a career well into my 20s. My first gig was actually in animation. I studied computer science in college because with a lot of these newer forms of media, it was it was also a compromise with my Asian parents that I would go into a STEM field and leverage that knowledge to find a role within a creative industry. I started off at DreamWorks Animation doing a lot of the 3D tech work for those animated movies, because like everything on there is digitally created in a animated film. So they have a lot of like tech requirements. And those skills are actually directly applicable to video games. So I ended up kind of moving over to video games by chance when Neversoft, the company that made Rock Band,
Yeah.
or no, Guitar Hero. I was like, why am I blanking on a place that I spent 4 years of my life? uh, they were hiring at this job fair, and so I went to check them out. Like I played Guitar Hero in college, and I ended up working there. And at that time, we started working on the Call of Duty series. So that was kind of my first entrance into video games as someone on the technical side of the of a major AAA franchise.
Wow. And I mean, do you think that like it sounds like your experience in animation was directly relevant to what you were doing on Call of Duty once you moved over to Neversoft? Do you think
Yeah,
there's some things that like because it does seem like a lot of people move between the two industries because they're so similar. Do you think there was anything that you felt you were prepared for better because of your experience in animation prior to getting into
definitely.
games?
If you've like, when you work at a studio, sometimes, or if you even work at a big tech company, a lot of people who are in administration or management, they throw terms around like agile and waterfall and blah blah blah, and these are all just like terms for basically how are we going to prioritize work and get that work done and pass work between different people. And so animation and movie making tends to use something called the waterfall method, where one department splits up the work and does it, and then passes to another, passes to another, passes to another. So it's going downstream like a waterfall. Video games tended to be a bit more chaotic, where like designs, they try something and then it doesn't work, they have to pass it back to art has to re-art it, stuff like that. But because movies are almost inherently, they are inherently linear, right? You're watching something at the beginning all the way to the end. They work very well in a waterfall format in production as well, because you're waterfalling the movie. You watch it as a waterfall, you make it as a waterfall. And so a lot of those efficiencies from learning how to pass creative material between person to person was applicable in making games more efficient. So that was kind of why I got brought on to begin with.